Erev Tov, we are here in the weekly Dvar Malchus Shir, and it's always important to remind us that in the course of the period of time that we're in now, from Simchas Torah, this year Tafshin Pei Daled, where we find ourselves in the midst of a terrible battle of a war against the Hamas, Yimach Shemam. After they went and they committed the most terrible of atrocities, probably since the Holocaust, and we want to go into have this shir in the merit of the soldiers that are fighting in the battlefield, that there should not be any casualties whatsoever, and they should have a complete victory, and the entire Jewish nation all over the world should be triumphant against the enemies of Am Yisrael, and also the healing of the injured, Rahman al-Islam, that are still in the hospitals, and even the injured that are already out of the hospitals, but they haven't been able to get back to themselves to 100%. Ramache Vareim V'Shasa Gideim, the 248 limbs and the 365 sinews, men and women, they should all be healed immediately now. And definitely, one of the greatest signs of Mashiach, despite the fact that halachically it's not so smooth, it is not so smooth what is going on in these last days, but without taking this concept under consideration, the fact that there have already been hostages that were kidnapped and that were returned is already a sign that Mashiach is working, and he is revealing the miracles for us in these very, very difficult and challenging and dark days. But nevertheless, it should also be, the study tonight should also be in the merit of all the hostages that were kidnapped. They should all be returned immediately and safely. And Teichef Umiyad Mamish, with the revelation of the Rebbe Shlitah Melech HaMashiach in the Geula HaMitis V'Shlema. Yichi Adoneinu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMashiach Le'olam V'ed. Ois Yud Beis. And to add, the Rebbe says, that even though we have the rule in the Talmud that one redemption is meant to be placed side by side with the other redemption, and we're talking about the two redemptions of Purim and Pesach, Kai al Adar Sheni. This is in regard to Adar Sheni, the second Adar, because this is the reason that we celebrate Purim in the second Adar, because we want to have the Geula of Purim side by side with the month of Nisan and the Geula of Am Yisrael from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. So the Rebbe says that despite the fact that this is talking about the second Adar, not the first Adar, that this Sicha that we're learning now is in the midst of and was said, the Shabbos that blesses the first Adar, Hasamuch leNisan, that is side by side with the month of Nisan. This is as opposed to the first Adar, of which was announced in the davening. The Rebbe is talking about davening that took place before the Farbrengen, in Birkas HaChodesh, in the blessing of the month. Yesh lomar, we must say, sheshayach gam la'odar asomuch l'shvat ki. We must say that this also has to do with the Adar that is side by side, the first Adar, which is side by side with the month of Shvat. Why? Miloshon Mishnah, because this is due to the words of the Mishnah. It states in the Mishnah, in the Mishnah in Tractate Megillah, Ein ben Adar harishon la'Adar hasheni ela kriyas Megillah umatonos levyoni. That there is no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar during a Ibr year, a leap year, a Jewish leap year, as we have entered this year also a Jewish leap year. There is no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar other than the reading of the Megillah that we read in the second Adar, not the first Adar, and matonos levyonim, the giving of charity to the poor that is done. It's done all year round. But in regard to the custom of Purim to give the extra presents of charity to the poor, this is done also according to the Mishnah in the second Adar, not necessarily in the first Adar. Mashma, I said not necessarily because there are also opinions that say that we give that we add in our charity in the first Adar as well. The Rebbe brings these opinions. Mashma shebishar ha'inyonim. This comes to tell us, the Rebbe says, that in all other capacities, ubenidon didan shaychusa lagiula, and in our particular situation that we're talking about, the connection of Adar to the redemption, shavim hem. Adar, the first Adar and second Adar are equal. And furthermore, Kevan Shenikra Adar, since it is called Adar, the Shehu Rishon, which is first, it's called the first Adar. Therefore, also its virtue and importance should be, since it's called first Adar, so it also has a greater importance and virtue upon, to a certain extent, upon the second Adar. As is also stressed in regard to the seventh of Adar, which is connected to the nullification of the enactment, or the decree of Haman, that the lot, when the lots were drawn, so the lot that was drawn fell on the month of Adar, and Haman was very happy, but he did not know, and this is the beginning of his downfall, that Adar was the month that Moshe Rabbeinu was born in. He only knew that Moshe Rabbeinu departed from the Jewish nation in the month of Adar. He didn't realize that Moshe Rabbeinu also was born on the 7th of Adar. And the Rebbe says, as we see in different sources, in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Shulchan Aruch, that the main factor of Adar, the 7th of Adar, the day that Moshe Rabbeinu departed from the Jewish nation, is connected with the first Adar and not the second Adar necessarily. And similarly to this, we find in other concepts, that when we say the month Adar in a leap year, so if we don't make any differentiation between what Adar we're talking about, first or second Adar, if we only say Adar stam, just like that, so the kavana, what is the intention? That is, it is Adar Aleph. And this is also in regard to the halacha. It's brought in the halacha, in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Torah Shulchan Aruch, in regard to the fact of the writing of bills of sale, bills of marriage, bills, other types of religious bills, that if it's written Adar and it doesn't, and it's a Ibr year, a Jewish leap year, and it doesn't say what Adar it's talking about, so we say that it's deemed that it's talking about Adar Rishon, the first Adar. So here again we see that it has clout, it has a greater weight. Adar Rishon has greater weight and is connected with the concept of the Geula, and it's not, as we said before, that it's only Adar Sheni, the second Adar. And in addition to this, Minhag Yisrael Dino, Minhag Yisrael Torah, even though it was announced in davening, when we blessed them the new month, there it says, and this was done according to the Torah law, and as we know, Minhag Yisrael Torah, the custom of the Torah is also the Minhag of Yisrael, the custom of Israel, is considered to be Torah. In other words, halachically, it has its clout. This is also, the Rebbe tells us, is quoted from Shulchan Aruch, that the new month of the first Adar is going to be on Tuesday, third day of the week. Behold, the Rebbe says, when Mashiach will come, and the Rebbe says immediately, in actuality, now, umiyad, lifnei Rosh Chodesh, if he comes, when he comes, and he's going to come before Rosh Chodesh, because this was still Shabbos, and Rosh Chodesh was only supposed to take place on Tuesday, she'az yachzeru lekadesh hachodoshim al pi ha're'iyah, that at that point, at that time, immediately when Mashiach comes now, we will return to go and to sanctify the months, and we will sanctify the months according to the testimony of witnesses, al pi ha're'iyah. Yitachen sheyesh makom shesanhedrin yashnu v'yikveu, shesanhedrin yeshno v'yikveu sheyeh rak oder echad. Therefore, it's very possible that there is a place where the Sanhedrin will be immediately when Mashiach, when the Rebbe is revealed. There is a place where the Sanhedrin will be seated, and the Sanhedrin at that point, they will go and enact that there will only be sheyeh rak oder echad. That this year, the Rebbe says, there will only be one other, because it's not going to follow the luach, the calendar that Hillel HaZaken prepared for us, because it's going to be returned to go in to have the testimony of witnesses that will go in to testify that they saw the new moon. If they saw the new moon and they saw it at a point where we see that there's no need for a second Adar, there will only be one Adar, and this one Adar will be what? Adar Rishon, the one and only Adar. V'yiyeh somoch l'Nisan, and this Adar will be side by side with the month of Nisan. V'yesh la'arich b'chol zeh ve'en kan mekoymei. The Rebbe says there is a need to be lengthy, to speak about this at length, but this is not the place for this dealing. In other words, the dealing of the sanctification of the new moon and so on. The Rebbe only mentions it, by the way, in order to go and to give us the factor of Adar Rishon this year. Now, Adar Rishon doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be Adar Rishon, even though it was already announced in Shul. And this is talking about Shabbos Mevorchim Adar Rishon. How much more so, Rabbi Isai, when we're holding the night, the culmination of Yudalid Kislev, of which we know we celebrated the wedding anniversary of the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin. Mazel tov, Mazel tov. But the moment now that the Rebbe is going to be revealed, it's going to be returned to the point where we receive the testimony of witnesses, and the witnesses will come, and they will come before the Sanhedrin, the high Jewish court of law, and they'll go and give their testimony. And therefore, this year doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a leap year. It could be that we'll have only one Adar also in this present year. Let's go on. V'hi rotzen, may it be Hashem's will, the Rebbe says. Ois Yud Gimel, excuse me. And may it be Hashem's will. V'hu ha'ikar, and this is the main thing. שהגאולה מתסווה שלמה על ידי משיח צדקנו, טובי בפועל ממש, תכף ומיד ממש, that the true and the complete redemption that will come through our righteous Mashiach should come in actuality, literally, immediately now. And certainly the Rebbe reassures us that there's no need to wait until the month of Nisan. We're now the Rebbe says that we're now the month of, before the month of Adar Rishon in this Sikha that we're learning. We don't have to wait, certainly, until in the month of Nisan. And also we don't have to wait until the Adar, which is side by side to the month of Nisan, Adar Sheni, the second Adar. And also we don't have to even wait to the beginning of the Adar, which is side by side with the month of Shvat. In other words, Adar Rishon, the first Adar. Excuse me. Since we will witness that our righteous Mashiach will come, the Shabbos that we bless the new month, the Shabbos that we bless the new month of the first Adar, at the culmination of the month of Shvat, Zach Shvat. To be in detail, the Rebbe says the 27th of Shvat, which was the date of that Shabbos Farbrengen, and specifically when we're talking about the day of Shabbos after midday, Bisman Mincha, at the time of the afternoon prayer, Uda Shlishis, and the third meal of Shabbos, Shekosher im Geula Hashlishis Ubeis Hamikdash Hashlishi, which connects us with the third redemption and the third Beis Hamikdash, the third temple. We go to the next page, which is the ending page of our Sikha. So should it be for us in actuality, in reality, and immediately in actuality, in kol perushim shebimiyad, with all the commentaries in the word miyad, kolel gam rashi tevas tichlolas haderes, including the abbreviation in regard to the order of generations in general. Miyad is Mem standing for Moshe, Yud standing for Yisrael, the Baal Shem Tov, and Daled of Miyad standing for Malchus Mashiach, the King Moshiach. V'chol perushim shebemamash, and all the commentaries in the word mamash, the Rebbe says, Ulechol reish miyad mamash kipshutei, and first and foremost, the immediately mamish in simplicity. Mamish. The Rebbe ends off with the word mamish 3 times, again bringing us to the Geula Hashlema V'Amitis. Mamish. Just to recap in regard to what the word miyad, the Rebbe also brings in regard to in the Dvar Malchus, that miyad is not only Moshe, Yisrael, and David Malchus Mashiach, Yisrael Baal Shem Tov and Moshe Rabbeinu, but also in regard to our generations, the Rebbe says, and closest to it in the beginning with our generation, Mem is Mashiach, Menachem Shmei. The name of Mashiach, the Rebbe says, is Menachem. Who could the Rebbe be talking about? Everyone can take their own guess. No need to guess. The Rebbe is talking about himself. Yud, in the generation one generation ago, the leader and the leader of the generation, who is the Mashiach of the generation. By the way, the Rebbe is talking about the leader who is the Mashiach. And first and foremost, Menachem, Mashiach Menachem Shmei. Then the previous generation, the Yud stands for Yosef Yitzchak, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And Dalet, the Rebbe says in Miyad, is the middle name of the previous Rebbe's father, going back to the third generation back, Shalom Dov Ber. Okay, so that's as far as the additional knowledge in regard to the abbreviation of the word Miyad. And when we speak about the word Mamish, and the Rebbe says all the commentaries in the word Mamish, we see that the word Mamish holds within it the Roshei Tevis, the abbreviation of the Rebbe Shlitah Melech HaMashiach's name. Mem, Mem, Shin. The first Mem standing for Menachem, the second Mem standing for Mendel, and Shin, the Rebbe's family name, Schneers. Yechi Adonenu, Morenu, V'Rabbeinu, HaMelech HaMashiach, Le'olam Voed. And as it's customary, with every culmination of study, we begin a new study, connecting the culmination with the beginning, with the new beginning. So we go to, in the hard copy, it's page 315. In the PDF, I don't have it in front of me as of yet. Bezrat Hashem, for next week, we'll have it, hopefully. But this is the a chelik misichas Shabbos Parshas Mishpatim. This is part of a sicha, of a talk, a public talk, that the Rebbe gave during Shabbos Mishpatim, Zach Shvat, the 27th of Shvat, Mevorchim HaChodesh Adar Aleph, the blessing the month of the first Adar, Hatafshin Nun Beis, 5,752. Al Dvar Sefer Zikoron Tiferes Moshe Yitzchak. And this is in regard
Rabbi,
to... Yes.
if anybody wants to see it, they go to the link that we published for the text.
Yes.
If we change the 44 to a 45,
they'll be able to
access
44 to 45. You'll be able to access the sicha that we're doing at this right now at this moment. Okay. And the Rebbe and in the title it says Al Dvar Sefer Zikoron. This is in regard to a memorial book, Tiferes Moshe Yitzchak. The book named Tiferes Moshe Yitzchak. There's an asterisk on the bottom. We'll read it quickly. Yotza Laor Likras Ashleishim. This was printed in regard to the 30th day from the time of the passing, the Ptiras Harav HaChacham, the Chulu Atomim, the wise and the wise rabbi, the Tomim, Rabbi Moshe Yitzchak Alav Hasholom Hecht. And this was Alpi Hayros Yibadul Chaim Tevim. This was according to the instruction of he should be separated for good and healthy life. The Rebbe Shlitah Melech HaMashiach in Parshas in Shabbos Va'era Mevorchu Mechodesh Shvat. Okay, so this is an additional sicha that the Rebbe said that's Shabbos, and we'll just read the beginning paragraph. From those concepts that are connected to the acts of goodness and kindness and charity, in which there should be a greater effort and speed in order to speed up and to bring closer immediately the redemption. Like it states, Shimru Mishpat, the Asut Tzedakah, guard the laws of the Torah and do charity, acts of charity. For my salvation is close to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. This is a pasuk in Yeshayahu, the prophet Isaiah. Kamdu Le'el, as mentioned earlier, and this is the sticha that we just finished. The writing, printing, and the spreading of books that are connected with these with Torah concepts. Kamuvan midrashas Chazal, as understood from the teachings of our rabbis of blessed memory, ala posuk, in regard to the verse, Tzid kosei medes load, his righteousness stands eternally. This is speaking about a person. It's a verse in Tehillim, and it's speaking about a person that writes or prints the words of the books of the Torah, the prophet, and the scriptures, and lends these books to others. Asforim kayomim loy she'inam kalim v'tzikosei omedes load. The Sforim themselves, the books, they exist for the individual that printed them or wrote them. In those days, in the times of the Talmud, the books were still being handwritten. Okay, so these books continue to exist for the individual that wrote the books or had the books written, or as in our generations, had the books printed. She'einam kalim, that they never come to an end. And this act of righteousness of his, medes laad, stands eternally for the merit of the individual that wrote the books, lends out the books, or printed the books in order to make them available for the entire Jewish nation. The Zman Grama, and this is especially apropos to the time that we find ourselves in. Shebe'erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Mishpatim, that at the eve of the Shabbos, the portion of Mishpatim, Sheba Mudgash Ha'inyan the Mishpat Utzedakah, in which is stressed the concept of Mishpat, law, the laws of the Torah, Utzedakah, and charity. Kamduber La'el, as I mentioned above, Higia mi Beis Hatfus Sefer Chodosh Shel Inyonei Torah. Arrived the eve of Shabbos, from the printing press, a new book that is connected to concepts of Torah, as we will continue Be'ezras Hashem next week. Yechi Adoneinu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach Le'olam Voed.